petitions that you're delivering?
There's 1,600.
Are you delivering to the department itself, or are you delivering to the state?
Try to get him into Dr. Lines. But they told us this wasn't a public building. I couldn't be inside. Prompting Mr. Hagan to say that they sell this building to him.
And what exactly did the petition say?
They asked for the statewide investigation.
What sort of evidence do you think there is to warrant investigating the other?
There has been a series of newspaper stories that have documented at many of the other schools the same things that we saw at the Davis School. There was a Columbus Dispatch story on a student athlete who said she had to take an entrance exam to get into the Horizon Academy here. You're not allowed to have selective admissions. There were people in the Cleveland school system who said they worked for the Noble Academy, which is a middle school, and the high school would call them and they would run past their names of people who wanted to get into the high school. And if they were good performers, they'd put them on the list. If they were not, they would tell their parents there was a waiting list. These are the two blue ribbon schools. They cheat. There's ample evidence that they're cheating. That is strong. There have been other allegations of teachers who didn't have proper background checks. There was a principal at one school who was denied a teacher's license because he left his 1-year-old unattended in a car, and a few years later they gave him a principal's license. The dean of students for the Dayton school was hired even though he had a felony for stealing money from a local cemetery. The Cincinnati Enquirer just did a major story about some pretty serious abuses involving visas. The State Department has had some unclassified cables that show that the State Department flagged some of these visa applications. They were so concerned, they notified Homeland Security, the President's National Security Team, and the CIA. But the Ohio Department of Education doesn't seem to care. I mean, there's a mountain of evidence that there is a system-wide pattern at these schools. The FBI has raided schools in 3 different states, and we think that too many kids are being left behind and not being properly educated in their communities.
Don't forget, you have the FBI investigating. They've seized records. You have the TSA. You have U.S. government. We have an incredible amount of evidence indicating that something's terribly wrong. And those of us that feel strongly about protecting public education, who've been screaming about the $900 million that's been siphoned away from public education, we feel strongly about making sure that we protect public education. And we know that even as I stepped up here and they said that we couldn't stand here because this was not a public place, and I wondered, did they actually sell this as well? I mean, this administration continues to do everything they can to privatize every portion of government, and that's not what will educate our kids. We keep and continue to fall behind other nations, other industrialized nations, and we have to refocus our efforts. But the best way to do that is to weed out what we think is corruption. And Sandy mentioned very briefly, but I think it's extremely important, the Cincinnati paper did an incredible story about what's going on when they're people are sending people from Turkey into the state of Ohio, and the Justice Department is looking at the visa entrance of those that are very seriously under suspicion. And I bring that up not to worry about those that are coming into this country legally, but coming into this country for reasons that are suspicious. And you have right-wing Islamic organizations all over the world, and I'm very seriously worried about where these dollars are going. These are tax dollars. Taxpayers are contributing to our public school system, and it's being pushed, reworked, and pushed over into a private system, and that in many cases now, in some cases, are ending up in another country. That's unacceptable.
Should we go inside? Try to go inside?
Before we go in, can I give you a shot to open up to see the petitions?
Sure.